So today I'm joined by a licensed home inspector, Mr. Kyle Califf, and he is going to talk to us a little bit about where you can find mold, how home inspections are serving us and failing us, and kind of things that we can look for to identify if this could be a problem for us. So I'll have him join me first, and we can kind of talk through that because I think this is a really unique perspective. So welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
Very good.
So how long have you been a home inspector?
Coming up on 4 years now. Been doing home inspections and then also a licensed claims adjuster for 8, almost 10 years.
That's awesome. And how often do you think mold kind of pops up on your findings?
Almost every home has mold, so there's some type of mold there. The biggest thing that we're looking for as an inspector or as an adjuster is there more than 10 square feet of mold? That's when you're really going to have to, quote unquote, bring in a little bit bigger guns,
Okay.
bring in a contractor and whatnot, and it's something that you probably wouldn't want to handle yourself. Less than 10 square feet, control the water source, get rid of the mold.
Do you feel like there is an underreporting of mold through inspectors, or if it is under 10 square feet, it's not really addressed with a lot of concern as far as health issues goes or brought to the attention of the homeowner?
Yeah, I would say that inspectors don't want to alarm realtors or their clients or buyers or what have you by stating that there's mold. We all get a little freaked out when we hear mold and see mold and stuff like that. Obviously, we're talking about it today. But you also don't want to alarm your buyer about something that can be easily managed or taken care of.
Gotcha, understand. So, especially in our community with St. Johns County, with the pandemic, we've had such a huge influx of people wanting to move here, essentially, a huge population boom, which has led to a lot of new construction and homes popping up really, really quickly. Do you have any thoughts on the speed at which these homes are being built and if that could lead to any issues with mold growing in a home, or what's your opinion on that?
The speed sometimes is concerning. Speaking from firsthand experience, I'm working actually on a new construction build right now. Went and did a pre-slab inspection, so before the concrete was actually poured in the hole for the slab. Did an inspection, got a picture from a friend of mine who lives in the area that the slab was poured a few days later. Great. And just a few days later after that, I get another photo that they've started framing up the 2-story house that's going to sit on this slab. A few days after that, I get a picture from the same friend with a big orange circle on the bottom of the slab on the front of the house, and you can see a massive crack. So the speed of what they're building the homes, yes. You need to make sure stuff's being dried in properly. You need to make sure that the drywall isn't getting wet and the wood and everything from the framing of the construction is all dried and whatnot. And then referencing that slab crack, that can eventually lead to damaging plumbing that's in the slab, obviously water, leading to mold.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened with the rental home that I was in. Was it was in Nocatee community, which is a very popular community out here where they build a lot of spec homes very quickly, and they had not dried the slab completely, and they had exposure of unsealed slab and frame to the elements, and leading to mold that was not visual, by the way. So it doesn't always mean that there's not mold in the home just because you don't see visual mold, right? So as a homeowner, if I'm walking around, I don't really see, black mold coming up my walls, or I don't necessarily, see a huge leak of plumbing spilling water everywhere. There's still a possibility that there's mold in my home that's undetected, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's always going to be some type of mold growth. It's just limiting and making sure that the water source is not going to allow continual growth. Kind of going back to the claims and whatnot, one question that we are kind of taught to ask folks when they're calling in a mold claim is specific to a bathroom is there visible mold on the whole wall? Like, what is it looking like, or is it in the corner? Obviously, if you're opening up wall cavities, which we don't typically do during an inspection, you could find some additional mold and whatnot behind that isn't always visible.
Gotcha. That's really interesting. And when we were talking, kind of preparing for this, we had you had brought up to me that there was some discrepancies between like the EPA website and specifically in Florida, the Florida Department of Health website, and regards to the accuracy or necessity of mold testing. What is your opinion on that? I know in Florida it's wet, so there's no way really around mold. Mold's always a possibility, but do you think that these government and licensing agencies are doing us justice in their regulations?
I think they're trying to put their best foot forward as much as possible. Um, Florida Department of Health will tell you there's no real need to test for mold, just get rid of it.
Mhm.
Limit the water source. If it's less than 10 square feet, say if it's drywall, cut out the drywall. If there's no water source, make sure everything else is dry, clean up. When you're cleaning up mold, you clean it and then you dry the area. It's not like we use our Clorox wipes and just wipe the area and then you're good to go. Wipe the area, dry the area.
Okay.
Um, as far as the EPA goes, they say that you can test mold and whatnot, figure out different toxin levels and if it's active or inactive. The state of Florida just says get rid of it. If there's more than 10 square feet, that's when you may need to bring in a professional and a remediation company.
Okay, awesome. And in the packet that everybody here has gotten today, I've provided a list of local professionals that are licensed in remediation services, really in-depth HVAC cleaning services, and that alone can be really tricky to find someone who's actually going to properly clean out your HVAC system and do a full inspection of the HVAC, not just the inputs and outputs across the home. I think that's really important. So, do you have any final words or tips on if we do find a mold problem, any professionals to reach out to?
Yeah, I'd say kind of like I'll say 1, 2, 3 steps, but there may be a couple more steps. If there's something that, if you see mold and you want to know what it is, if you want to save a couple bucks, you can go to the local hardware store and they sell mold test kits. Follow the instructions, send it off to the lab.
Mhm.
They'll send you back kind of that. That'll tell you whether it's active, inactive, different things like that. What kind of mold? Then from there, if it's something a major issue and you can't figure it out, you can start with doing like a leak detection or a contractor or a home inspection to figure out where the possibility is,
Okay.
stopping the leak,
Okay.
and then proper cleaning. Um, if you're gonna go with a professional, you got kind of 3 tiers. You have mold services, so like indoor air quality, surface sampling, things of that sort. It's very common with your home inspection packages. You have mold assessors who actually go in, test the mold, and actually write the mold remediation protocol for the remediation company. And then you have their mold remediator, which is the person who can do all three.
Okay.
So if or when mold happens to come up in or around your home or your area, I would say start with your at-home test. If it's something that hey, I don't really want to do the at-home test, let's just go ahead and get this ball rolling. Go ahead and start with the remediation company.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I know one really popular at-home test is the ERMI test. You can buy them online. I have a link and some information on studies that show the accuracy of that, and that's dust sampling, which is a little more accurate than air sampling, I think, from the research I've done. And that's something that we can kind of buy and show our landlords, show our inspectors, show our real estate agents, and be a little more proactive and a little bit more of aware of and responsible for our own health and our own home air quality instead of just relying on licensures, which, at the end of the day, they're all hired by somebody and reporting to somebody else, and the homeowner may not always be, the person that they have the best interest at heart of. So I think being a self-advocate for all sorts of things in health, including air quality in your home, is really important. So thank you so much for your information today. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
No problem.